Welcome. You are at the CCC,
where there are no outside issues. My name's Anthony. I'm an addict and an alcoholic, a 7th-year doctoral student in clinical psych, another bozo on the bus, and I care about you.
Yes, and I'm LouiLou, and my pronouns are he and him. I am recovering from crystal meth and alcohol, and I am always in search of balance. Yes, and each week we'll provide and create a brave space where we can engage in topics around recovery.
Our intention is to hold and inspire better spaces for more people in recovery by tackling issues sometimes used to separate us.
Yes, but before we do that, please like, share, and comment, and also rate us.
Yeah, rate us, leave comments, tell your friends about us.
Ding that bell.
Ding that bell. Ding, 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 ding. And now the disclaimer. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on At the CCC are ours alone. We do not represent anyone but ourselves. The material and information shared here is for general information purposes only. In other words, we're just a couple of friends behind a mic here to entertain you. Did you see how I was holding on the side of my mic? I was I was having my Mariah Carey moment.
For that whistle note.
Yeah. Well, Bonnie Violet is here and she needs no introduction.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be back.
It's good to see you.
It feels a little foreign, but I don't know.
It feels a little foreign.
Yeah, but it'll be like riding a bike, right?
It is like kind of
Just
riding
get
a bike.
ready.
Yeah, because we talk all the time.
Right. Yeah. It's not like brand new.
Not like brand new. How are y'all doing?
I'm good. Yeah, that's it.
All right.
It's like that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Giving it to
There
us.
wasn't much to offer.
Yeah, I
I'm
understand.
good.
I understand.
Like,
That's real.
you know, it's that thing where it's like you tell somebody you're good. I didn't say I was fine. I'm good. And then folks are like, well, is there something else to it? I don't know. Have you noticed that? Like,
yeah.
I'm not into that.
Yeah,
Like,
I feel like it might be like just because of okay, have y'all ever noticed this that there 12 step the conversations you have with people in the rooms, right? And like if you ask someone how they're doing, they'll tell you how they're doing.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then if you go out into the world and you ask someone how they're doing, they don't tell you how you're doing.
No,
I have
no.
to be very careful because
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like talking to a stranger and they're like, how you doing? And I'm like, and I'm like, oh my God, we just met.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know you like
But the point I was making is like,
Yeah.
if I tell you that I'm good, even if I'm not good, trust it. You know,
I
because
understand.
you might not be the person that I want to talk to you about.
That's fair.
Definitely.
That's fair. Yeah, I get
Definitely, yeah.
that. Oh, I got spicy.
How are you?
That wasn't spicy. That was just.
I
that
know
was
we're
just
on
as
a podcast. I'm making
No,
jokes.
I know, but that,
What was it? Should we hug? No.
we are not hugging on that.
Okay.
No, just making a point because it's like I think that like
It's all good.
yeah.
I understand.
How are you?
How am I? I'm doing really good. Actually, can I tell you? I'll be honest. Today has been. I like woke up. I like a panic attack at like 4:30 in the morning, and I was like, doing all the things because they've happened enough. So I'm like breathing and doing all the stuff, and then like I went back to sleep, and then I woke up and I was still anxious, and I reached out to my Al-Anon sponsor and my AA sponsor and my SLA sponsor. Well, not my AA sponsor, and my therapist, and then I went to the gym. And then I came home and I prayed and now I'm fine.
Now you're all good to go.
Yeah, shit.
Nice. You did this stuff.
Yeah, being
That's what
human
we
is so
do.
hard sometimes.
Indeed.
So that's my answer. How are you, Bonnie Violet?
Yeah, I feel like I'm probably between the two of you, but I've been, this summit, the drag summit is happening this weekend. And so just a lot of like working with sponsors and ASL interpreters and all the volunteers. And so this morning though, I had to call my sponsor and be like, hey girl,
Yeah.
I'm spinning a little because you're like, we're all volunteers and we're all doing the best we can. And sometimes it doesn't feel like enough, And so it's like trying to balance that. Like, I'm so appreciative of you, but I need this.
Yeah.
So,
Well, being a boss is hard.
I guess so.
Yeah. Being a boss is hard. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's really good to see you. So can you say a little bit about this summit for folks who may not be familiar?
Sure. Basically, we're doing our second drag and spirituality summit. So it's just basically an opportunity for drag artists and spiritual leaders and people who love us to just kind of get together, and we do drag shows and panel discussions and keynotes. And so we're hosting here in San Francisco this weekend. So
That's very cool. I didn't know you were doing it out here.
yeah.
Oh, what a great place to do that. And what a timely event.
I think so.
Yeah.
I
Just
think
given
so.
what's
Is
happening.
the plan for the future like to move it around?
Yeah, so it was in
Okay.
Chicago last year, and then we can't really maybe we can say it, but we're going to be in Toronto next year.
Nice.
Oh.
We
Very
have a
nice.
university that's going to be sponsoring it
Oh,
and hosting it. So we're really
Yes.
excited about it.
why wouldn't you be able to say it? I'd
Well,
be
we were going to
excited.
announce it at the summit.
Uh-huh.
So
It's just,
this is like a
just
little,
you know
enough of
what?
a delay for
Yeah,
you.
just a
dude.
little
exactly.
sneak peek.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess it is delayed, huh?
Yeah,
Except for our
exactly.
live folks.
A little bit.
Oh.
Well,
Yeah.
that means it's for anybody listening right now. It's like you got a special.
They got the
like,
scoop.
You got it here.
You got to hear first.
Just
Yeah.
don't say Bonnie Violet said.
Don't say yeah. But also congratulations on your second year.
I know.
That's quite
but
impressive.
that-
Thanks. It's cool.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Exactly.
Um,
You're not a one-hit wonder. It was
Well, maybe another
no.
maybe in other things, but not with this.
oh no. My caretaking is coming in and I'm like,
Oh.
tell me more about
No,
that.
it's okay. It's okay to have a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, we still
It
talk
is
about
'cause
them.
it is
Some of
because
my
it's like-
favorite music
yeah.
was one-hit wonders.
It's all about like you took a chance. You put yourself out there, and
Take
that's
a chance, take a chance, take a chance.
Yeah.
Isn't that the song?
Take a
Take a chance, take a
chance
chance.
on-
Da, da, da,
ABBA.
da, da. Okay, so today's topic is making new traditions.
I feel like we talked about something to this effect before.
Making new traditions,
Yeah. I don't
routines and
think-
rituals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, routines and rituals. I remember that. It was morning and night routine rituals.
Oh yeah, we
yeah.
were all at home. For
Yeah.
those. It was like
We all, yeah.
yeah, because was it Brandon sick or what was the deal?
One of us was sick.
Yeah,
I was sick just a couple weeks ago, or was it last week?
last week.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so you guys did the routines conversation not in a normal routine.
No,
That
that's
sounds on brand for
No, it
us.
was
that
no, it
seems
was the
pretty
three
on
of us.
brand.
It was the
It
three
was-
of us.
Oh, I was there.
It was-
But it wasn't a routine situation.
Got you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't a routine situation. We all signed in at home, and so it was like, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were like making a new tradition.
Yeah,
Not so much.
I love it.
Okay.
we're it's
Um,
like the no matter what tradition, no matter what we are, but
Just
we
make it work.
we haven't followed through with that.
Yeah, there was something I was going to say. I have like exciting things to share about the podcast, but let's jump into this first. So the Gala, the Harvest Feast, is tomorrow, which is an annual event that happens. That's hosted by the Castro Country Club, and it's a time to appreciate people who've invested.
Absolutely.
In the Castro Country Club, it's also a fundraiser, and
Money.
yeah, we'll all be there. We're all at the
Yes.
same table.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I was looking at some of our stats because I love them.
I love that. I love that for you.
Someone was
love-
asking me actually about that. today. I was
They're-
like, talk to Anthony.
They're like out of control. Like
Oh,
our
for sure.
stats are like, okay, can I tell you, Brandon? Maybe Brandon already knows this, and this is, I guess, in line with routines and rituals. So our listenership extends across all 7 continents.
Nice.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Which includes 36 countries and territories,
Wow.
Dang.
and
Only 36.
only 36. And then, so 36 countries. And then we are listened to, I think the number is in 598 cities in the country.
Oh wow.
That's pretty good.
Isn't that wild?
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
That's so exciting. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow, Brandon. Brandon's here. And Brandon's always here. That was a weird transition. So let's go back to, let's talk about making new traditions and recovery. So I think this topic came up because we were, a while ago, we were talking about how for a lot of us, say we have, there was a tradition about, we went home with the family or we were with like partners or whatever. And then over time, we realized like these things were actually quite harmful to us. And so we had to start establishing new traditions. Right. And I think for a lot of people, I'll speak for myself. I didn't realize that was a thing that I could do. Like I didn't realize it was a thing that I could do. And 2, when I did realize it was a thing I could do, I didn't really know what that could look like. One of the things that I love that happens in San Francisco, every year, at least in the recovery community, is there's some people who host dinners during Thanksgiving, for example. And then you also have like the winter holidays, we have people who they open up their homes for people. And that's become a tradition for some people.
Yeah, I think just going and being with community on the holidays is like something to do, which takes you away from like your normal, if you will, traditions. and
Absolutely.
Making new.
Is there something when y'all both came into recovery, can you remember when you started to establish new traditions? Like while you're both thinking, like one of the things that I started to do is like when I got sober, I realized that my birthday was one of these things that I always felt really weird around. And one of my really good friends, Melissa, she asked me if I wanted to do anything for my birthday. And I remember talking to her. I'm like, well, I really like escape rooms. And so that was, over 10 years ago. And that was one of the first kind of traditions that I started in my recovery. And it's become such a big part of my life. And it was just this little thing that's turned into such a positive. Yeah. How about you two? Can you think of anything?
The one thing, I'm not exactly when it started. I think it may have even started before like I got sober. But when I was thinking about this idea of making new traditions, I looked at it and related it to my family, like even beyond like the recovery part of it. As you get older, as I get older, when my mom passed, it's like I was at a kind of a crossroads. I could continue doing the things that my mom expected because it's like my mom, you're going.
Right.
I'm an adult. I don't have to.
That's right.
I get to choose whether or not I want to, and it's okay because like with my sisters, they have families and everything. And so back to your question, like when I think something that kind of like changed for me is on New Year's Eve. I always try to spend time with the people that I was the closest to for the year. Now, usually I'm fortunate enough that we're in a larger group of people that I've spent time with. But even if we are sitting at home doing nothing, I would rather kind of it's almost like for me, an unspoken way to kind of wrap up the year. It's the year in review like we do.
That's right.
And it's just nice because like maybe by then I don't have the bandwidth to be with anybody that I don't know,
Yeah.
How about you, Bunny Violet?
I mean, I think the thing that first came up to me, I think just as like queer people, I feel like before I got sober, there were times when, it was like, okay, it's, it is Christmas time or it is a birthday or it is like, and I think even just moving away and as you get older, I think there are some families like they still go to mom and dad's every, but at some point in time, I think with queer people, oftentimes we don't necessarily have our families like you were talking about. And so we kind of just do what everyone else is doing rather than creating our own. So I think I like started like when I got married. I've been married. I don't know if people know that, but when I was married,
you mentioned that just as an aside. I heard you say that recently, and I was like, did she just say she was married?
Yeah, I was married from like 24 to 27.
Okay.
So, but and then like, it was a little bit, I think more of those conversations when you're like, okay, I have a husband and we even were talking about kids and just like, we want to have people over at our homes and we want to begin to build our own tradition. So that's really what first kind of came to mind to me. I don't know how like recovery focused that is, but I think just us being a queer podcast as well, I think that's something that we get to do,
Yeah.
even before.
I'm in recovery and we start to realize the things that we enjoy, that we like doing and that we feel comfortable doing, and then we just do them. And so they just naturally become like our new tradition.
I love that. Yeah. And then we have a comment. I love the idea of like following, and I think you've talked about this before too, Bonnie, about following what feels good and following what makes sense. And what
we like it feel good.
So where's our comment?
Nora,
hi guys. Brandon, that's what Brandon. That's what you were pushing. Oh, okay. Stephanie goes. Hello, sometimes you have to continue your old traditions to realize you want new traditions. Hey, Stephanie, thank you for that. Because in my notes, I actually have here how old habits and traditions may have contributed to addiction or destructive behaviors.
Yeah.
I normally don't read my notes out loud, but that's what my notes say.
Actually, feeling like you're forced to go with family. Like my family has never kind of, none of their words have told me that I needed to have kids and I needed to be married in order. But I always felt like no matter what, I was going to be at the child's table and I was going to be looked at a certain way.
Right.
And so I shut down, and it didn't help through my active addiction that I was like, I let that fester and build. I mean, now it's like, I maybe need to find a way to get back to them, but I'm always like about my chosen family. I love my actual family, but I will wait till the last minute to try to make plans so that I
wanted that Bonnie Violet, you just said something a second ago about you weren't sure about like the establishing new traditions with your then husband and how it related to recovery. I was thinking about that and how I think traditions actually remind me a lot of the things that make recovery work. And like one of those things is routines and rituals, right? So like, excuse me, for example, going to the same meetings regularly, like how that can be very stabilizing, how, you know, like having a like a bedtime and waking up and making your bread and like making your bread, you can make bread.
too.
You wake up and make your bread.
You know, being flexible, but how these things can be containers, right? Like I know I've been reading a lot of like relationship research recently, and how relationships are made stronger by having like routines and rituals embedded into them. You know, it's like we have our date nights, or we have, so I think similarly with recovery, I think when you have rituals and things like that can really strengthen a person's program.
Yeah. Well, and it really helps you with like, it gives you something to look forward to and
Right.
to plan for. And, you know, because we can get really busy, we can get really overwhelmed with life sometimes. And it's helpful to know like, oh, I just, you know, but in like 2 weeks, we're going to have dinner with everyone, or I'm going to do this, that, or other. So-and-so is having a sober birthday. So we're going to, you know, because I was also thinking something that they do here that's kind of thing is when you get your 1 year, what do they call that?
The watch.
The watch.
I was calling it awake for a while.
I almost called it
a wake because you're watching him. It's like
so make sure it doesn't turn into a wake.
But I don't think I had heard of that as a thing until
the watch,
San Francisco. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think definitely it was something that started in LA, and then LA folks brought it here.
That's so interesting. Humans are so interesting, because everywhere I've gone to meetings, there's always something like unique about that area. You know, I thought the watch, maybe we're spreading rumors, but I thought the watch was like established years ago, and that the idea behind it was that you wanted to watch someone turn one to make sure that they didn't relapse.
I was talking to someone who just this weekend, I believe, who was around, and I think the thing was there was an individual who everyone loved, but they struggled. They would get really close and never get it, and so it was literally to watch this person, to kind of watch this person get to a year, which I find is quite interesting because you stop watching them and then they go use. It's like but it's a beautiful idea, because in a lot of ways, like, you know, it is not so it's not for that same reason, but it is kind of a great way to kind of
come together,
create that fellowship that we long for, and then to just celebrate and show the new people that this is something that's possible. And then also there are folks, for a while we were doing it so often, they were just really excited. Like folks would be like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You know, it's like, I'm looking forward to my watch. Yeah.
Well, I think it's great for newcomers too.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I love I love the way it feels when someone does celebrate a year. There's like a different energy to that.
Huge accomplishment.
Yeah, it is a huge accomplishment.
We have a comment.
We do. Let's hear it. Jaylon.
I think the holidays can be a tough time, even if you are close with family. I'm blessed to still have my folks, and don't take that for granted at all. However, now that I'm part of the community, I love having somewhere else to be during the holidays, especially if things go south during a gathering with immediate family, like they have in the past, especially when unhealed, unskilled, lack of having program family members want to try it. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
Period.
Jaylon, I agree with you. What I do like is that I think that I played I rode the pity train around. I remember one year I had all of these family members who had finally been able to reach me because I shut them out, invited me, and I was like, oh, no, I had everything else. And then on the day, I remember being all dramatic. I was walking around the city in tears. Nobody loves me, and this one. But now it's like I have this built-in thing that I can do in addition to, and being around folks I love, it's encouraged me to kind of want to be around people that I love, that I'm actually like biologically connected to.
Yeah.
This is bringing up so much for me. So I was just, because it always does, but I was just thinking about how, so I'll speak for myself, how there are things that I know that are good for me, right? And how sometimes the thing that's good for me feels so difficult to do, right? So I remember, for example, I had years ago, I had this falling out with my family, because who in recovery hasn't? And not to undermine anyone's experiences with their family, but I had this falling out, and I was I didn't handle it the best, right? So my cousin had invited me to his mom's 50th birthday, and then I just didn't show up. I don't feel good about that. And she's this aunt who has only ever had my back since I was young, right? So I was, we that's how I handled that. So, and then after that, I just chose not to talk to my family. And then one year, I reached out to my cousin and I was like, hey, like I owe you an apology. That was like really fucked up of me. And in that conversation, he was saying to me, hey, like our family is going to be going to, I think this was to Jamaica. This was our first like international trip as a family. The long and the short of it is that that's become this tradition in my family where like now we take these trips, and it took so much energy just to contact him to be like, hey, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And
So
that one, exactly. That took so much energy to say I'm sorry. And then that turned into this like beautiful thing that we've done over the last few years.
Yeah. One of the things that was coming up for me when you all were talking too is I remember, I think one of the things that being in recovery helps with, say, traditions or family dynamics too, is like, I think it allows us to sort out what we really feel about things. Cause I feel like I got to a point where like, I think as somebody who grew up in a small town, left the small town, I always was committed to like being home with my family. And so like, I would kill myself to go home to be with my family. And it kind of became this like obligation. Like I felt like I just had to do it. I had to do it. I had to do it. And I didn't enjoy it. And I started to question whether or not, I liked it or not,
That's
what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
And so it took me some time to really think, actually, no, I want to spend time with my family. You know what I mean? Like, and so I can put like this ugly obligation sort of like thing that I was letting kind of lead the way, and be able to put that aside. So could I actually just be like, oh yeah, no, actually I want to go see my family, even if it's inconvenient or blah, 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 any of those sorts of things that I wanted to label, made it difficult or made me not want to be with them or something.
Yeah. When I love that this is where we are in this conversation, because I'm wondering about the experiences y'all had where you started to see like, actually, this isn't working for me. And what made you make that switch? You know what I'm saying? Like, when is it that you realize, actually, this is not very good for my recovery and for the direction I want to head in? Can y'all think of anything? I just got a Charlie.
I don't think I looked at it as like it not. I mean, not anything with my family. I mean, because I think that I had shut them out without knowing that I shut them out by doing whatever I wanted and not being available.
Yeah.
Maybe just not making the holidays all about me.
Yeah, exactly. Because I really think that like I had to do some work, like we all have to do some work. And of course, if I go into a situation dealing with insecurity and doubt and not knowing that the best way to find out how people feel is to actually have a damn conversation with them. I think that as I did the work here and I start to learn how to have healthier relationships with the people around, and I was able to kind of then go back to the family, the people that installed these lovely buttons that can be pushed without doing anything.
That's real.
I think that there's something to be said about like, giving yourself some time before you dive back in.
That's real. Yeah.
And I was just ready. I was just ready because it was past the time. I mean, I realized, not perfect, I could definitely spend more time with my family. I have been finding it difficult after COVID, because COVID really kind of like put a wrench in it, because even if you wanted to, it's like we were like, oh, I'm not really sure what's going on the vaccine front.
Yeah. And we're mindful of like our older
oh, absolutely,
like relatives.
absolutely.
Yeah. I was when I was living in Chicago a few years back, I was really wanting to try to create some sort of like tradition or whatever. And I think the holiday times were always interesting. And so I threw this party called Swank and Swagger every week, every year around the holidays.
Was that sex party?
And no, actually what I did was I tried to invite all my worlds into one space. So it was like sober people.
Wow.
It was like the beach volleyball team. It was my work and advocacy kind of friends.
I just have one word: audacity.
The audacity.
That's in my thing. Like the audacity. That's impressive, because
that's so great. Yeah.
It was just a really great opportunity. I think it kind of reminded me a little bit of like what you talked about, like for the new year wanting to be around. Like for me, it's just like, I feel like I had all these amazing people in my life, but I felt like so compartmentalized in some ways.
yeah.
And I was like, these are some amazing people that you just don't meet because you don't go to a meeting together, or you don't go to the same church, or you don't work in the same field.
Didn't work out.
Yeah, it was great. One time we did accidentally like buy candy that had alcohol in it, which was
nice.
Oh, those are so
awful,
yummy.
but
Yeah.
it was the worst. It was like a sober party, and I'm you're out.
Yeah. I know
But
what
luckily
candy
we
you're
noticed.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah,
They have
Change the
liqueur
name
in
of the
the
party to Let's Change Our Time
I
Together.
know. It's like, it's some,
starting over. Yeah.
There's a danger. It's like,
that's
this is a
free laugh.
sidebar, but
That's
there's
a free lapse.
Yeah.
there's a danger in that. Like, I know you all have experienced this where you have folks coming from who you love, coming from different worlds. You introduce them and they do well together. And in some cases, surpass your
That's
friendship.
scary. Yeah.
And it really challenges
C'est
you.
la
Like,
vie.
if you really love these people, then you are, or the worst, when you introduce people and then they get together.
Oh, what do you mean?
Like
You mean like
married?
They
or-
get together.
Oh,
I've had that happen, and then the person wanted to, like, they didn't stay together, but they made it a point to say that it was my fault. And initially in the beginning, it was like, oh, Louis introduced it was a great thing, and then when things went south,
Louis introduced us.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's why I make it a point now. It's like, I will, if you're in the same room, I'll introduce you in a very generic way, but I'm not responsible for what happens after
and
that.
For that, I
Nope,
am not
nope.
responsible.
And I make it clear. You can do what you want to. I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to tell you can't do it, but
Yeah.
I want you to know that I am not a matchmaker. That's not my
No.
story.
It is not your story.
I'm not Fanny Bryce. Okay,
Who is she?
from
I want to say
that's
like
from
the
funny girl. Yeah.
Funny girl.
Um,
Barbara Streisand.
Or is it Fanny Bryce? Is it it's one
Barbara
of,
Streisand.
No,
Isn't there a
it's-
song?
She was Fanny, right? Or no?
she's but I don't know if it's Fanny Bryce was the matchmaker. If anybody knows, let us know. Or it was. Well, I'm mixing up Dolly and Anyway, go ahead.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about musicals. Yes.
Older movies.
So y'all talked about, but did we talk about when you realized there's like time to change, like what that moment was?
We did. You asked, and I think that where I landed was it wasn't like a moment. It was just things had started to,
Sure, yeah.
And then maybe the best thing for me to say on that, especially with my family before, like when I was showing up and feeling like I always ended up at the kids' table, and in my mind, the narrative I was creating was I ended up there because I didn't have kids and I didn't have a significant other, and I believed that they were placing value on that, and that wasn't the case. I mean, they absolutely love me, and whether or not it was or not, it's like that was my stuff, and I needed to kind of, like I said, get away from that.
Yeah,
because if I'm going regularly and I'm not comfortable, not having a good time, I've always been can you imagine a child with no poker face? Actually, most kids do.
I love kids. Yeah,
this was me. Poker face. I'm not having a good time. I will go up and hide in a room and stay away from people.
Yeah,
and so I don't have to do this.
I feel that.
I don't have to live like this.
Well, you know what you're reminding me of? Were you going to say something? What you're reminding me of too is something that so we're talking about like cultural changes, right? So for example, how you can have like a tradition of like, say, meeting with your family every holiday and you showing up differently, and how, just because we make certain changes in our lives and we adopt new perspectives, that obviously doesn't mean that the world does that, and how difficult it is to kind of sustain those boundaries for ourselves. I remember like a few years back, I went back home and I had that experience where I was at a family gathering and my aunt started to yell at me like I was a kid again. And I remember I walked up to her and I said, for the first time in my life, I said, please don't talk to me like that. And she kept yelling and I go, please don't do that. And then later on that day, we sat down and I was like, don't talk to me like that, please. And that was very difficult because here's this grown ass woman who my whole life, has had this kind of authority over me. And that was very difficult, and then.
But she wasn't speaking to you like a grown ass man.
No, but
she was not.
That's common.
She was like, stop playing with the fucking piano.
That's kind of common in families of color, where they still like treat you like regardless. It's like, guess what? I'm an adult. You got older. I got older too. And
and I think, and this is actually, that's funny because that's the aunt whose thing I didn't go to.
Oh,
but I love her. But that's not even, she doesn't even listen to this. So she,
you keep saying they don't listen to watch. They have a listening party right now.
In the comments.
Yeah. She's like, I'm gonna get you when you get home. That's my Aunt Jeanette. I love her so much.
You needed to be yelled at.
Yeah. She's like, what if you would act right?
Have you noticed, like, I don't feel like I'm as rigid in some ways with my traditions. Like because I try to be a little bit more intentional.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, I might not just do this thing because it's what I always do. Like maybe I'm not feeling it this time, or maybe I want to have a new experience, or maybe something else came up. So I think I have a little more fluidity, I guess, in being able to just understand my intention and then to kind of move forward with that. So I don't think, I feel like that's something that's been really great, is just be able to have a little bit more intention. Because I remember like, and it's changed, because I remember like being like, screw it, I don't need to be with anybody on Thanksgiving. And then I had a really sad Thanksgiving one year, and I was just like, never going to do that again. And you know what I mean? And it's just like, well, maybe that's just what I needed to go through, And now I've done it all by myself and not whined about it. Like that was my intention.
That's so relatable, because years ago, I would do this thing. I don't know who the fuck I thought I was, but I was like, on my birthday, I'm going to go to an all-day silent retreat, and I'm not going to...
Oh my God.
I don't even know.
Wow, that is a reveal.
So I don't know. I'm bringing that up because I can be such a weirdo sometimes, because I'm like, I convince myself of shit and then I say it out loud and I'm like, Anthony, what? So like, it was one of those things where I don't know what it was. I think I was like newly sober, and I was like, this is the path. This is the way.
Well, aren't we all like that all of a sudden?
I know. And I went to this. Go.
Go.
Well, I was going to say I went to this all-day retreat, and it was dreadful. I was in a room with a bunch of strangers laying down on some fucking musty-ass carpet.
Not saying a word.
Not saying a word. And I was like, why did I do this? And then my homegirl hit me up afterwards. She's like, you want to do dinner, or are you still doing the silent shit?
You still doing the silent
She's just like, you really going to? And so we went out, and a bunch of my friends were there, and I was like, why do I do
not going to do that again.
I'm never not do that shit again.
That's beautiful, friends, when they let you experience the
so you done doing this?
On the whole birthday front, something that I've managed to continue, and I didn't really think of it much as a tradition, but I guess it is a tradition. On my birthday, because I place a little more significance on my recovery.
You talked about this,
on my birthday, I don't do anything, because I don't. In my mind, I don't need to be the center. Like, I'm all down to do something before or after, or even better, if someone else has something and we combine it together, but not on the actual day. I don't need to do that, and it's worked nicely. Like I always say, it's like, yeah, you know what? I kind of just want to decompress. It's okay if I'm around people, and thanks to Facebook, people will react. But I think I'm even fine when it goes kind of like under the radar, and then the next day people are, oh my God, it was your birthday, blah blah blah.
Yeah, but like for you though, like, do you feel like? Because I think for me, my birthdays, and I don't know if this is because like I'm a person living with HIV. And I don't know if it started happening once, because I didn't think I'd live to be 26, and I got sober at like 30. So it's like right around the same time. But I think I feel like my birthdays are something I just feel really grateful for. Like it doesn't have to, sometimes it's a huge production, sometimes it's not, but I love getting older. I just love having that experience, because I guess I didn't think I was ever going to have it.
I love getting a show. I totally enjoy like my birthdays. I really like. I have it. I think what I was saying with I don't like, if I'm gonna do the circus, if I'm gonna do the circus stuff, if I'm gonna all the craziness that goes with it, I would much rather just have it kind of be.
I feel that. Totally.
It's interesting, and I know I've talked about this before. It's like I always do these things that put me like front and center. But it's not always a comfortable place to be.
I was going to say,
you're so good for it.
You are so good for it. I was also really confused by that statement. I don't like being the center of attention. I'm like, bitch, you are literally the center of attention in so many situations.
But you know what? You notice how I said it?
No, I didn't.
I don't always I always I always find myself front and center.
Yeah.
I'm not always comfortable with it.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I should be a better listener.
no,
Yeah.
no, because
It
you're
was
right.
subtle.
Because you're right. It's subtle. It's like, but I've come to understand because I think there's a part of me that does like that because I'm on the cusp of Leo and Virgo. Like,
Yeah.
I'm close enough to it. So there's a part of me that's there because I definitely will do I always say I'm willing to do all the background work to be in the center or whatever. It's, but it's not always a comfortable place to be. And where that comes in is like, there are occasions where even, and it's happened with you and, where like at the People of Color meeting where, folks are used to you showing up in a certain way. And so it's easy to always assume that that's how you're going to want to show up, or how you're going to be. Like with game night, we're always like, if we're going to get started, we need to get Anthony to get us started,
Mhm.
And so,
And there's sometimes I just want to play and I don't want to lead.
Yeah. And so that's what I mean. It's like, and I'm grateful, and recovery allows me to kind of step into whatever and make the most of it. Because usually by the end of it, I'm like, okay, get over your chief self. I've gotten over myself, and I'm of service.
I feel like what the question that I want to land with as we kind of land the plane, the question I want to lead with while we land the plane, at least like the theme I'm hearing in a lot of what we're saying is, as we get sober, and we at least what I'm thinking here is we develop a sense of what feels good, what doesn't feel good. We get
as
a
we get
sense
sober and as we get older.
Like for real.
That's
for realsies.
That's something that I think
because we were always
everybody can relate
chasing
to,
to feel good.
Yeah.
It's just a different sort of feeling good.
Yeah, it's that's such a good point, Bonnie Violet. I'm thinking about and in the literature we talk about we develop intuition. Like we get a stronger sense of our relationship with a higher power.
And we can just go with that,
and we get inspired. Yeah. So I'm wondering, as we land this plane, about
what plane?
the one we're on.
We're looking around.
Well, booger just came out of my nose. Maybe not say that into the mic, but then
I mean, they saw it. You might as well.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was like, because and anyway, so I just wiped it on my Castro Country Club hoodie. So, but developing that intuition, and I guess can y'all say a little bit more about like what that intuition kind of feels like or looks like when you started making decisions about developing new behaviors in your life?
I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is being able to be still and open and connected enough with myself, and also willing to kind of like reach toward that thing. So it's like, like I've been feeling like a couple years ago, I went home. Like, I don't know, like I went home for Christmas just because I wanted to be there. Nobody wanted me there, but I did.
I remember. Yeah.
But it was something that I wanted. And so I think, and like this year I'm feeling like I don't want to be like, I want to go somewhere for one of the holidays. And I'm like, and so I think I'm willing to kind of like explore that and think about, whereas in the past I'd be like, oh, I can't, or I should do this or that or the other. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is just that intuition again, is just being able to keep an open space so that you can notice. Cause we get those inside little feelings, whether we feel like we're missing someone or we're just antsy or, have a way you want to label it. I think that's how my spirit, that I sometimes call my higher power, like speaks to me.
I feel that. I love that. Thank you.
I feel like some of the traditions that stand out for me, like going back and being with family, or making sure that I'm with friends for the holiday, has a lot to do with my mental health and how I like, and wanting to be proactive, because it's like you guys talked about like what happens when you don't act, when you just kind of go with whatever, and the discomfort you have after. Like, you would not have known that going to a silent retreat was dreadful. If you had not gone.
I mean, we could have told you.
I don't even know. And like, that's not even a place to begin.
Right.
Like you don't begin at an all-day retreat. You like start off anyway. I have,
maybe half the day. What about you?
Yeah, I have a friend who calls me team too much, because I have a tendency to do too much. Although that's getting better.
I think
too much.
The other thing that I want to say too, though, is that like, because I do feel like I've been very like I-centered and like, what is it that I want or how I want to feel? But I do think that there are times when it's like, I like I notice that somebody might do well, for me to be with them or to reach out to them. Or, you know, sometimes I will just go to like the Castro Country Club on a holiday because I know there'll be people here who might be in some sort of way about the holiday.
That was so like, it's a sign of, I believe for us, or for me, it's a sign of maturity. When you know, obviously early recovery or through recovery, we go through a period where we are selfish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where I'm going to do what I want because I like it or whatever. But then you know, when you're partnered, when you're in a relationship, some of your traditions,
that's like.
some of your traditions. Well, no, we do know what's like when we have really close friends or roommates or whatever who we value or want to show that we value what they value.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I find myself doing things that I wouldn't necessarily do. Like one of the traditions I had, my friend moved away. Franklin, if you listen to, I'll make sure I'll tell you which one it is. But it used to be us, even during the shelter in place, a few of us, we'd have a really small kind of gathering. We had to go to a restaurant or to his place. It's like, you gotta, if you don't have one of those gay friends that is very particular about how they do things, everything, like the napkins are folded a certain. Is there something beautiful about like looking out for yourself that way? But that, and then we would come over to here and connect with folks and then go. But a lot of that was because I didn't plan it. I didn't plan it. I was like, I love these people. I value what they value. And so I'm going to be down to kind of connect, or at least to give it a try, and then tell them to fuck all the way off next year if I get invited, if I don't like it.
I have a very soft spot in my heart for people who are able to bring other people together.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Well, we need to start wrapping up so that we can start doing what's that? We're going to land this plane. We're gonna land this plane. We'll get on the tarmac, and then we're gonna talk on the tarmac because we have the 15 minutes
I love
after we saw.
What is this plane stuff?
I don't know.
I thought I felt a little turbulence.
Okay, Brandon.
So I want you all to know, because Brandon wants you to know, that the Castro Country Club is a safe and sober community center for all people and a refuge for the LGBTQ barbecue recovery community. I can't talk.
Sure. We provide programs and services that help people change their lives by supporting personal growth.
Our vision is to reduce the suffering of addiction by connecting people to community, opportunity, and support.
Yes, and you can find more information, including all the ways to contact us, at www.castrocountryclub.org // I always do that. Podcast, because I don't care.
Tune in every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time when we go live on our Castro Country Club Facebook and YouTube channels.
And find
us wherever you listen to podcasts.
Find us.
And rate this episode.
Rate us, comment.
And others, please go through, because that's going to make the difference to whether or not we
that's
extend
how people,
our reach.
Yeah. Rate us. So like, you'd be a 7, but...
Oh wait, what is it? It's like he's a 10.
He's a grinder.
But you don't
He's a grinder
10. He's a 10, but he
grinder 7.
Does drugs.
Right.
Oh my God. Oh, I'll rate you. Okay.
Brandon wants us to be quiet so he can do the outro music.